Alright, what's up everybody? Alright, so I forgot that I had the SDR Play spectrum analyzer software, and I don't know how to use it, but I also been playing around with the FFT function of the Handtech, and not really sure what it's showing me, but that's around the frequency that we're reading over here with the oscillator. So I did push auto set and get it to work. We'll just do this again, just see what it kind of pulls up. It'll go off the chart. The E shows it's off the chart. You can see the spectrum right there. So what I did, this menu will come back. I put auto range and I enabled it, and then that allowed it to show up. It kind of goes overload and then not overload. But by adjusting the voltage a little bit higher, it's able to display it without it glitching. This thing's really hard to film because of the screen's actually really bright on this. Let's see how high we can go. It won't let me go higher. Oh, well, yeah, I guess it will. No, see, now it just changed back because it's on auto ranging. So anyway, go to 50, 100, and then at 100 it's not reading right. It thinks it's 7 megahertz. You go to 200, and then it says nope, and it goes back to that. So it doesn't really auto range correctly. Would probably want to be like 20 or 50. Interesting though. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing going and see how accurate that is. Now I noticed with no probe on this, the FFT reads the same. So I don't know what the hell I was actually even looking at there. So it's kind of a fiddly program. We know what the frequency we're looking at first. We kind of have to know that. So I went in here and changed the center frequency to 10 megahertz. And then I had to change the span to 10 megahertz. And then that put me between the 5 and 15 megahertz range. So if you want to see that on there, you're looking at the frequency you already know, you're okay. But if you don't know the frequency, then it's kind of goofy. So then we have this little triangle over here, and we put this right here, and it will, if you can see it, you'll be able to read the frequency, 10.5441 at negative 70.5 something. We move that over, look at these other spikes. 10.6, and we got 10.3. It's really hard to read this. And you see we have another spike right here at 8.6, and then a pretty large one right here, 6.5. So this kind of gives you an idea that why the oscilloscope could be having problems with this, because there's, you know, these signals over here. So I wonder if we could look at this a little bit wider. What happens when we go to 100 megahertz? So now we're looking at a range of 0 to 100 megahertz, and we're not even on the scale. So it's really too wide. I mean, it's off to the side over here, and you got this on average. Let's put it on peak. Okay, so it's on peak, so I don't have to wait for it to average. But, you know, now we don't even have a clue what the hell we're looking at. So this is why I'm saying that this is kind of difficult. So go to 10 megahertz. and then it's now adjusted itself to 45 to 55, and now I'm not even looking at my frequency no more. So these numbers here you can't just adjust, as far as I can tell. So you have to change your center frequency, and then when you do that, then you can get it to where you want it. So right now I'm at 10, and then that puts me between 5 and 15 megahertz again, and then we know somewhere over here probably our peak, but this isn't really what I would consider to be reliable information. And 10.530086, and if we were to go off of that information, just looking at this, we would think the radio was wrong. So I've been trying some of these different things, and okay, we get peak, we get average. The average one seems to work the best. So we put our little arrow in here. What does it read? We're looking at this line right here, and that's actually pretty accurate. So I wonder if we could get a little more resolution here. We need to adjust the vertical. So I just found that by going like this and adjusting the reference dB, we can bring it down. Now we can look and see what the very, very, very peak of this thing is. So, and it's on average, so it's averaging itself out. It's actually quite slow to do that. Let's see what happens when we go and switch over to peak. Okay. But by changing this number here, it looks like it makes it a little easier to read this. We're not. I think we're just like zoomed in a little too much. So 10.5413, and then there's some spikes here at 11 and 6 something. So this is easier to use. So yeah, it looks pretty accurate. I mean, but if you don't put this thing right on here perfectly, you're not gonna read it right. So, it's kind of touchy. I don't know what else you could use to change on this, but it's definitely a useful piece of software. I mean, if you already have an SDR play, this is something that in a pinch that you could use this to align your radio for sure, better than you could that. So, I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry for the long video.